in a very evident manner how progressive are the schools, because technology has really enabled our life so much. Uh, and as the blended learning in your school's ecosystem have shaped up, I think in a similar fashion, the way we have to interact now as a school to the parents, where the technology have started playing the most significant role. So this is the first step, and why we thought of starting the Premier Schools virtual edition with the Gurgaon Fair, because Gurgaon being the most advanced city in terms of understanding when the IT goes, or understanding how the technology is used. So I'm sure this is going to be a wonderful excitement time for each one of the exhibitors, as well as the large number of attendees who are going to attend this session. So, my welcome note, a special thanks to all the, I can see attendees, 47 attendees uh, uh, has already joined in, and we are expecting few more. So I'll introduce Pooja, our dear friend, and Pooja happens to be our esteemed partner as well. Pooja, she is a founder of Schoolwiser, and Pooja has been very proactive in Gurgaon market. Especially, she started from Gurgaon market with her Schoolwiser project. Now reached out to several other cities. A great human being and a very passionate educators. Thank you, Pooja, for taking this session forward. Over to you, and please let's enjoy this session and make this session the best possible way how we can help the attending parents here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Vivek. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome for today's session. Today's discussion somehow never goes stale. It's a discussion that we talk about, something that we talk about year on year. Parents come to this juncture where their children get school ready, and then a discussion with regard to what school to choose for your child becomes dinner table conversation. How should a parent go about this school search? Before we start answering this critical question on factors to consider when a parent is looking for the right school for their child, let me introduce our esteemed panelists today. I would like to start with you, Mr. Amol Arora. Mr. Arora is an award winning entrepreneur, a critically acclaimed author, and a visionary. He has led the Shamrock and the Shamford group of schools to becoming India's leading chain of schools with over 525 preschools. Sorry, I've just give me a second. My computer's frozen.
You want me to pitch in?
No, that's okay. I'm back on. Thank you. Over 525 preschools, primary schools, and senior schools located across India, Nepal, and Bangladesh, with over 3 lakh alums. Mr. Amol has strengthened the Shamrock brand by outspreading his high quality education and child friendly environment in the entire country, and further extending it to Nepal and Bangladesh with over 425 branches. Additionally, with his far-seeing wisdom, he has also transferred the same stress-free and friendly learning environment to his senior school chain, the Shamford Futuristic Schools. Today, there are over 100 Shamford branches in 17 states and union territories across India, which makes this the fastest growing K-12 chain of schools. And thank you so much for kind of doing that through the education sector, and congratulations. Very warm welcome to you, Mr. Arora. We look forward to our conversation with you today. We also have amongst us Mrs. Geeta Verma. Mrs. Verma is an educationist since 1990. She has been the founding head of the international program at the Heritage Experiential Learning School, Gurugram. Prior to Heritage, she was associated with Pathways, and she has been an Ivy Diploma Program Examiner and has led a number of authorizations and accreditations, and also facilitated TAISI workshops for school leaders and South Asia International Ivy School Association sessions in English literature, in extended essay, and theory of knowledge over the course of years. She is a graduate from the Lady Shri Ram College in Delhi and has done her B.Ed in scholarship from the CIE, Delhi University. She has also completed a blended course on pedagogical excellence from the Stanford University. A very warm welcome to you. Currently, I believe you are heading Pragyanam as the head of schools.
Thank you, Pooja. And hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
We also have with us Mrs. Vandana Khanna. Mrs. Khanna has, to her credit, BA Honours in English and a Master's in English Literature from the University of Delhi. She started her teaching career with GD Goenka in Vasant Kunj. and she has got exposure to a variety of effective classroom strategies and shoulders multiple responsibilities as a class coordinator, subject coordinator, examination coordinator, and explicitly public speaking and personality grooming. She was the headmistress at the MBPS International School, Dwarka, where she administered a compelling and inspiring vision with a sense of core purpose, multitasking in all spheres of overall school development. Mrs. Vandana is currently the principal at the Venkateshwar School, Gurugram. Welcome, Vandana ji, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, and warm good afternoon to everyone.
Last but definitely not the least, we have with us Dr. Anita Madan. Mrs. Madan is an educationist and has been associated with education services since the last 24 years. She has been a continuous learner by achieving 3 master's degrees and a master's in sociology, a master's in education, and an MBA in human resource. She has also a doctorate in education with specialization in curriculum. She possesses a varied experience of working with students of all age groups, right from pre-nursery teachers to being a principal of a school to being a lecturer in a college. She is currently the head of curriculum development with Eurocred International Private Limited, and she believes strongly in the changing situation and demand of education system to meet the needs of today's learners. She promotes developmentally appropriate curriculum by showing flexibility in approach, adaptability, and continuously striving to achieve a result. Welcome, Mrs. Madan, and thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you, Pooja. Good afternoon to all.
A very warm welcome to all the parents who've joined us as well. I am very, very sure this discussion is going to be extremely fruitful. We all, kind of have been talking about this for a while, and we know factors such as infrastructure, fees, curriculum, pedagogy, distance, all have a hand to play when it comes to choosing the right school for your child. For today's discussion, what I would like to do is delve into some of these top parameters and go to each of our panelists and try and understand that how do you actually evaluate and look at this parameter or these parameters when you're looking for the right school for your child. I'd like to start with you, Mrs. Verma. When a parent is considering a school for their child, typically they come at a juncture when they're looking at a school which is about 10, 12 years old. There's enough data in terms of the board results, or be it feedback from parents, be it feedback on the kind of teachers that you have, vis-a-vis a fairly new school that has launched more recently. Now, when a parent is considering these two schools, one that has enough evidence and data to fall back on, one that doesn't, what is your advice to parents? What should a parent rely on?
Both the institutions, one which is really established and one which is new, need equal consideration. So, brand value is something, but looking at how unpredictable life is, and COVID has told us this, parents are now not just looking traditionally at grades and traditionally at percentages or making children college ready. So I, in my experience at Pragyanam, meet a lot of parents who are all about, holistic development, life skill development, and unpredictable times have actually taught us that. So ideally, the parent needs to first ask a question to himself or herself: what do I want for my child? And that will give you the answer, and that will then steer you in the direction that you want to, explore. So if a parent is very clear that, no, I want my child to get excellent grades and, get into a great college in DU, or maybe, even crack the IIT or the NEET or whatever, then the traditional way is the way to go. But if there is a parent who has sort of, now they're in their 20s and 30s and just realize that maybe I need to look for something else, then you most certainly can explore new skills. So it's ideally just the question that they need to answer: what do I want for my child? Pooja, I think you're on mute.
Yes, thank you. I like your first statement. I like the fact that you said that they both need equal consideration. But help our parents understand. And I'm sure a lot of parents kind of do come to this juncture where they look at both the schools that they're comparing. One that has been there for a while, one which is slightly new. The new one looks really promising. They have these conversations and they think, wow, I would want my child to be here. But because of lack of evidence, often they're not able to take that decision. What is it, specifically, if you could kind of give few tips that a parent should at that juncture say that these are the 3 things, if this new school ticks these 3 boxes, it's probably going in the right direction and it would go in line with the other school that I'm looking at?
So my number one advice always has been talk to the teacher.
Okay.
Absolutely, the teacher is the heart and soul of every school. And if a teacher doesn't establish a kind of a rapport with the child, that emotional rapport, learning will not happen. So talk to the rock star of the school. I would also say the second tip I would give is also talk to the head of school, you know, because a lot of it sort of comes from the ethos and the leadership of the school. And you can see how connected or deeply rooted is the principal in the philosophy and the soul of the school rather than just seeing it as a position and as a job. So I think these two things will certainly give you an indication. The third thing that you will look, and I think at this point, Pooja, this is a non-negotiable, the infrastructure. What are some of the things that the new school is doing? So, like at Garden School, we have a 15,000 square feet auditorium basement because we know how the weather is. Sometimes it's pollution, sometimes it's hot, cold, raining. So that's what a very unique thing. Second, this new school does live CCTV screening for the very concerned nursery KG parents. So look at the innovation, and then going forward and being a school of the future. So I think these are some of the things that we can look at.
Perfect. And I think I love the word that you use in terms of the infrastructure. And I'm going to go a step further. Our children today are kind of studying the mindful curriculum. I think how mindful is the infrastructure is one key thing that you've said. And the second thing is obviously people, because it's not the building and not the pedagogy, not the curriculum as much as the people who are actually going to be delivering that. So thank you so much for that. Amolji, I'd like to come to you with my second question. There are people who come from different walks of life and have different thoughts. I want to understand, in your opinion, there is a set of people who think, there isn't really the term right school is hyped. And there isn't really a right school for a child. You put a child in any environment, they will learn, they will flourish. What is your thought on that?
Yes, of course, children will do well in even children who succeed in life don't necessarily come from the best of schools. So that's one thing that parents don't need to really stress out, as if you make the wrong decision, something's going to go wrong with the child's life. So one is take it easy, but again, it is one of the, having said that, it is one of the most important decisions they will make. So I know it's I'm stressing them out as well as I'm relaxing them at the same time. But the good thing is today with the internet, you can research and go and see the schools. I think that's very, very important. And that's just saying that, okay, I'm going to spend half a day on this decision is not something that parents should be doing. So they should go and see the school. And I think I agree with the points that were said. But also, it's also what's important is why am I sitting here? It's important to understand the people behind the show as well. Who are because there are schools run by builders and there are people who have a clear vision, and others may disagree with this because I know there are principals here, but principals may come and go, and sometimes what happens if the vision behind the school is not clear, the philosophy changes as the school head changes, and this is something which is I have noticed. So it's very, very important to understand the clear-cut vision of why does this school exist and does it fit into my lifestyle, the way I want education for my child. So I think it's a very, very important decision. Parents should go and see the school, see the infrastructure, which is, of course, is important. But what does the infrastructure really do? Is it just about an Italian marble on an automatic doors? Is it just that, or do you see that the infrastructure supplements in the learning that's going to happen in the classroom? Is it designed for that purpose, or is it meant as a show off? So I think once you see it, parents can immediately sense that how is this school being designed? Has it been designed by an investor who just was gave it to an architect, contractor in a school, bana diya, and of course, new age schools can be very high end. But I think so. It's very, very important, first of all, to look at this is my family routine. Does this match my family? What I expect in terms of my whole lifestyle? That's very, very important. Are you looking for a full day school? Are you a working couple? Then you need to go for a different kind of school rather than shifting your children between daycares and creches and dropping them at grandmother. A lot of schools are offering different options. What are the big priorities? I think in Gurgaon, especially after the murder incident, is the safety of children. I think that's very, very important. And I think we see with COVID, because safety is coming above education. That's why schools are closed right now. So I think the safety should be thoroughly checked. Do you see sharp edges? Do you see blind spots? Are there blind spots on cameras? As a parent, I'm very, very concerned. So that's how I designed my school. I've kept these things in mind for keeping safety and at the top of my checklist when it came to designing our school. So I think things like these are very, very important. Talking about our school in Gurgaon, we've have a school flexible classrooms. Our classrooms open up into each other. We already have sinks in every classroom, which are already pre-installed for children's safety. So I think every school has their own USPs. What I think every parent should do is visit the schools. Don't be lazy about it. This is one of the most critical decisions. When they go around the school, they will see it speaks for itself. So I would, love it if parents do come to Shempet Futuristic School, Gurgaon. Whatever I've learned over the past 30 years, I have infused in this one school, and based on what I've been observing. So this is something I've built with love. But the good thing for Gurgaon perspective is Gurgaon parents have choice. Unlike in Delhi, where parents are saying, "Acha, kisi bhi school mein kara do." Gurgaon parents have choices, and that's a good thing. That's always a good sign for education. That means everybody is competing, is trying to do better than everybody else, and as a result, your children are going to get good education, no matter which school they go to.
Great, thank you so much. So, Amolji, I hear you echoing what Mr. Verma said. To a great extent, you echoed the fact that infrastructure should be mindful, and that's something that a parent can witness once they visit the school. So, Amolji's key message for today is please don't be lazy. Make sure you spend enough time and give this decision enough thought. The other thing that I loved that you said was the fact that it is the people behind the show, it is the people behind the scenes that matter the most. Yes, there is a team that kind of carries forward their dream or their vision of what they want to do. So don't just stop at the head of school or the head of academics or look at the teachers, but also go beyond that and try and put some research in who the promoters are. Are they somebody who's passionate about education, or is this another business for them? And it's all right, even if it's a business, but as long as you understand the motivation, as long as you have track record of what they've done, and what you want for your child kind of marries and ties in very well with the school and what their vision is.
Because that's going to set the tone for the next 12 years. And we've seen with COVID, education is going to be now a blended education. We're going to have, so anybody who can adapt will succeed. And the schools which had a previous track record, that may not matter so much now in the current environment, because those things are now not so important. We've realized that. So is the school flexible enough and adaptable enough to the new environment? Because their children are going to be graduating 15, 20 years from now. Right. Is the school going to prepare them for that new uncertain world, or is it going to make them, a rote learner who has no place in today's job, even today, not talking about 20 years from now? We see that just because you're a topper does not mean you're going to get a good job. So it may help you the first college, it may help you in your first job, but beyond that, if you want your children to succeed, you have to look at things beyond. You have to be more broader minded than just go by whichever school gave the best results in class 12. I mean, and schools manipulate that as well, right? You can take all the toppers from all the schools, give them a free scholarship, and get all the toppers, and it improves your class 12 results. There are strategies that are done to manipulate the public image. So parents should be able to dig a little deeper than that. I think that's what I would advise them to say. Think a bit deeper.
Absolutely, thank you. I think that's very valid advice. So don't just look at things superficially. Make sure you dig deeper. Make sure you give it enough time and effort when you're looking for the right school for your child. With that, I'm going to come to my next question, and this is for you, Mrs. Madan. Since your background is curriculum design, I'm going to focus on that for my next question. Now, one of the key parameters when parents are looking at a school is curriculum. Help us understand, in your opinion, how much importance does curriculum actually warrant? And when a parent says that I'm looking at, let's say, an XYZ curriculum, how do they find evidence in a school that the school is actually walking the talk and doing what they say that they're doing?
Thank you, Pooja. Curriculum is definitely the heart of the entire school. So why I hear Amol talking about the infrastructure and the the base that the children need to be there, curriculum is as important as an infrastructure for the school. So especially when I talk about the preschool are those foundation years, that initial exposure that the children get to school. So at that time, we have to kind of get them the entire perception of their educational career, how they feel about the school, how they feel being there about that. So it's not only the infrastructure that's like a really fancy looking building, but it is how the teacher interacts and how well the curriculum is designed for them. So if I talk about a curriculum which is outdated, which is like a traditional curriculum, which Amol mentioned that they wouldn't even get jobs in today's date, why 10 and 15 years later? So curriculum is like a kind of a base and a foundation that it's like the roots of the tree that we have for the children. The school parents must focus on what curriculum the school is following, rather than the schools just giving them those fancy names. Okay, we are following the Montessori curriculum, we are following the Reggio Emilia curriculum, we are following Frobel, but what exactly does that mean is what the parents have to understand and probe into them. Kind of go there and find out the evidence. So like Amol said, they have to go to the school. The way the teachers or the head of the institute talks to them about the curriculum, how passionate she is about imparting that to the children. So parents need to see that, at least these three things are there in the children. First thing is nurturing their curiosity. The children are learners, they are natural learners. The school should give them situations, environment, exposure to the world where their curiosity is done. Teacher plays a very important role where she's kind of laying the foundation where the children can get answers and get curious about the answers. The second thing that the school really needs to see is are they fostering playful learning environment? I may say I am a playful school and I give a lot of learning which happens playfully, but there is so much of structure and focus on that do it in this manner only. So how does the playfulness actually exhibit in the school? Are they given them that freedom? While doing playfulness, is there guided and scaffolding happening? Is there an experience and an environment which is created that helps the children to kind of experience for themselves and have the exposure to the world? And the last thing is, in today's time, regulating the building the self-regulation skills for children. The self-regulating is something that has to be there for them to know what is so important to handle themselves emotionally in the situation. Be able to pay attention to the others, peer listening, finding out their own behavior and managing their own emotions. So currently, like we are all inside the house for the last 6 months, understanding their own emotions and handling them is so important. So skills like these are going to be developed in the children right at the root level when they're just entering the school. And it's very important for them to kind of know how to go ahead. So if we are focusing on the curriculum in terms of, okay, does he know the, his math numbers? Does he know his language? Does he know? How many of us actually use ABCD in sequence, except for using the dictionary? We don't even know, use ABCD. So why are we focusing so much on the children to know their sequence? Rather, we should focus more on building skills which are required. So like skills like self-regulation, inhibitory control, where the children can face the uncertain world that we are in today.
Great, thank you so much. I've just got a question from a parent, which I think was a part of what I also wanted to get into.
Sure.
What you said, I think there are two things that kind of answer that in part. So you said when you kind of go to a school or when you interact with the school, look at the passion with which the curriculum is spoken about, because the more research and the more time that would have been spent into the curriculum will come out when they're kind of talking about it to the parent, that passion. The second thing that you mentioned was make sure that the curriculum has life skills embedded in them, because that is something which is kind of going to help with the child, stay with the child throughout. Help me also understand now, when a parent has that half an hour, 45-minute discussion, either if it's remotely or in the school, let's give an example. One parent goes to 3 different schools. Everybody is as passionate. Everybody tells them, how great the curriculum is. From a parent's standpoint, what are the key, really tips of what are the key indicators that should tell the parent this is actually getting practiced? Or is there a way for the parent to actually see evidence, and what is that evidence that the parent should look for?
So while the parent is visiting, I would suggest the parent to take the child along. So it gets familiarity with the school as well. Also, they get to know how they treat the child, how they speak to the child. So in case if there is a school which is a very, very traditional school, may just ask the child to sit down in one corner, or would ask the maid to take the child away. the school which follows too much of curriculum and is very passionate would give the child an environment to kind of explore things. So they would be sent to a play corner where there would be a lot of toys where he's being engaged, and there would be a teacher or a mentor who would guide him and see what he's playing and ask him relevant questions over there. So that is very important for a parent to see that did this happen with their child, rather than just telling them to sit down in one corner while I talk to you. So that is the very important evidence that the parents need to see, that how the teacher or the school authority is interacting with the child, because ultimately the child is the consumer. So how does he feel? What is his experience about the whole environment? So I may build a very fancy school, but the environment inside the school is very toxic. It's not friendly. It's not giving child the importance. It's rather saying that don't touch here, don't do this, don't do that. Rather, it would be that come, let's explore the environment with me.
Great, thank you so much. So hopefully, parents have got a few tips in terms of how to make sure that when you're interacting with the school, these are the things that you need to look out for, which will give you a good indication of whether the school is actually investing in the curriculum.
Pooja, can I just add on one thing over here, what Anita said? So yes, you will notice this, that some schools will be very traditional. Aap form bhariye is din and stay outside the gate, but you need you only when the fees to be deposited. This is where this will happen in schools jahan par admission nahi milta aasani se. Very, very clear. The new age schools will all of them will have this kind of philosophy of engaging their child. But please, again, go a little deeper. These things are they are staged by the admission marketing department. Go a little deeper than that. The real philosophy of a school may not be what the admission counselor, how passionate she is. Just go a little deeper than that. That's what this point I would.
Yes, absolutely, Amol. We need to look at many factors. So we actually need to look at whether the infrastructure is safe. So do the furniture have rounded thing? Is the toys non-toxic? So apart from that, this is one of the criteria that I spoke about.
I see a lot of questions flowing in with regard to the current situation that we're in. So a lot of parents are asking about whether the child should be sitting in front of the screen, whether it may make sense to kind of go to a school, whether it makes sense to send the child to a school. While I appreciate parents, and especially young parents, having that concern, I think the idea is that the choice that you make today is not a choice that you're making for the next 6 months or 1 year. So the choice that you're making in terms of your child's schooling hopefully will stay with the child even post-COVID. Unfortunately, during COVID, there are two options that we as parents and as educators that we have. Either we go ahead and we put an absolute pause on the child's learning, or we make use of the situation and have online classes. Yes, it has its challenges. Yes, there are factors that probably don't tie in very well with the way we want our children to be educated. But unfortunately, that's a situation that we've all been pushed into. If there is time at the end of the session, I'll come back to those questions, but I'd like to move on with Mrs. Khanna. I know she's been waiting very patiently, and thank you so much for that. We've taken a while to get to you. Okay. I think we spend another 2 minutes on infrastructure. So parents have, that's the first thing that actually meets their eye. And parents have shown concern when it comes to infrastructure, because a lot of times when we interact with parents, the first thing that they talk about is that we entered the school and we didn't like the school. Now, that could be because the vibe wasn't right, the infrastructure wasn't right, the playground was too small, whatever it might be. But a lot is to do with infrastructure. Help us understand in these times how important is infrastructure, firstly, and secondly, given that there's some parents who are saying, should we actually be visiting a school physically during these times? If the answer to that is no, how does a parent gauge infrastructure sitting at home?
Yeah. See, yes, these are difficult times, and for parents to gauge the school from home. Yet, I would say if they follow all the norms of keeping the social distance and using the sanitizer or wearing a mask, and schools are not crowded yet, children are not there, and there's a limited entry into the school. So there is no harm in checking up the school physically to go and see, because there isn't there shouldn't be any hesitation in that. If I were to tell about the infrastructure point that you have raised, infrastructure, amenities, all the facilities that are just provided by the school, they are important. Yet, utmost important would be given to the teachers, the faculty members, the staff that is handling the children. Your child who's there for about 4 hours or 6 hours, depending on the age group, it's very important in whose hand he is going to. So there's a trust on both the sides. Parents are trusting the school for giving their child to them, and similarly the school also wants trust from the parent, some cooperation from the parent. So trust is on both sides. After all, it's value for money also. So I would not give so much importance to infrastructure. I feel that there is a tremendous innovation going on in the education sector. There's a huge change, and there's a broad vision that is coming in. So whether it is, creative intelligence, whether it is the analytical skills that we have to look into for the children today, the practical knowledge, all these things would be more important than the infrastructure. Infrastructure is there, but yes, the infrastructure has to cater to these platforms, has to open the opportunities for the child and parents. So since there is a lot of innovation when we talk about creative intelligence, when we talk about analytical skill, so is the school capable of providing this platform for the children or not? See, there's a study that's conducted by NASA which says, 98% of 5-year-old children fall into the genius category of imagination. So it is the responsibility of the school to let this genius out. And the child has to be very happy. He has to be happy coming back home, and the parents have to be satisfied. So it is, I think, a genius in a teacher of the faculty member, which would, be the icing on the cake, because it is the teacher who's going to look after the child under all circumstances, whether it is a virtual class or a physical class, any problem in school with the child during a physical school, all those things, and a complete knowledge. And also curriculum, which has to be beyond the curriculum. Curriculum which is beyond the book. For out of the box thinking, the teacher plays a major role. So for an efficient, genius teacher to be, imparting the best of knowledge, parents should feel that there is no tuition required when the child goes home. The satisfaction level has to be to that when it's value for money, because if children have to go for additional classes in the evening, then it is a waste of the effort of the child, 6 hours in school. So so child has to be heard in school. Every child must get attention, that every teacher must listen to him. There should be no query unsolved, or there should be no such thing that, okay, we'll look into this later, or you can do this later. So a child should be heard, and attention should be given to him. He should be in safe hands. The teacher has to be good. So also, we were talking about, if I were to elaborate on this curriculum when we were talking about that. Earlier we were talking about, STEM education, but now we have to progress to STEAM. In STEAM, STEAM, the A is for the art and design. So if we give a free hand to every child to work on himself, and give a free hand to the child to, learn by doing himself. So I think children can be very creative. So other than just science, technology, and engineering and mathematics, if there is art and design, and the child is led to be, creative, because there's no limit to imagination, and he can reach the sky and he can do very well. So all these factors, I think, would be, so infrastructure, like we started with this point, infrastructure is important, but that infrastructure should have all these things so that the child gets a complete all-round development.
Great, thank you so much. So, based on what I've heard from you, infrastructure not so high on your list of factors when you're looking at a school, but unanimously everybody has spoken about the people factor. So that is something that is key when you go to every school. Yes, people will change, but people coupled with probably the pedagogy and the ethos of the school will give you a very good sense of where you are sending your child. I'm going to have to take a pause here. We've got an overwhelming number of questions, and it would be unfair to not attend to them at this juncture. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask a few questions. So we've got a question from Neetu Singhal. She has said, kindly suggest some simple steps to explore genuineness of a school that can help parents. Is there anybody who'd like to take that? All right.
So Pooja, I think all the panelists have more or less said the same thing, and there are a lot of overlaps. So for parents who are concerned, how do we get to know the genuineness? I think what all of us have said is talk to the teachers, talk to the head of school, find out who's behind, as Anmol said. And I think when you talk to them and see how passionate they are, that is when you will get to know what is really happening at the ground level. Now, what some of the schools are doing, including Pragyanam, is that we are allowing parents to come into the classes and have a look. And these are not total classes, these are walk-ins. And digitally, it becomes really, really very possible. So maybe just ask for a trial, which is what I've been asking. Ask for a free trial, see if your child can adapt to that, and you'll get first-hand information and absolutely, ground root level genuineness of what is really happening in the classroom. So I think it is about meeting the teachers and the head, knowing what your vision is, where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years, and infrastructure too. But right now, I think everything is rapidly evolving. So I don't know that will infrastructure be the first thing in parents' mind. Looking at the list of questions right now, it's about how does my child take to online classes? How do I adapt? So I think that's
Geeta, I would add one more point. Also, speak to the parents, the existing parents of the school, their experiences, the experiences that they share. A word of mouth really works. So apart from doing your own research, I think the existing parents are your, you can go and check with them.
All right, Neetu, I hope that answers your question. So key takeaways there is go with the reviews that you see about the school, speak to current parents, and schools that offer a free trial, go ahead and avail that. And I think that's a great thing. We didn't see these free trials earlier in our time, so that I think just should give you faith and confidence that if there's somebody who's out there giving a free trial, means that they have that much faith in their product or in terms of what they're trying to do. I'll take up another question that's come from a parent. That's come from Neha Mohit Agarwal. Probably, Dr. Anita, you're best suited to answer this. It says, I am unable to select the board for my child. How do I do that?
Okay. So how old is the child?
Well, it's a question that's come. I am not sure, but assuming that the child's starting off now.
Depending on what the parent requires. So it's very important for us to understand the requirement of the parent. So whether the child really shows any interest into going into an IIT where he needs the math part of the curriculum more. So he needs to look into a CBSE school. But if the child is more language inclined, he wants to become more on a columnist or into the journalist or something, a language ICSE school. So depending on what the parent is actually needing, but to be very, very honest, more focus on the board, I would say go to a school which develops skills for the children, which are like the 21st century skills that are more required. These are just things which we used when we kind of admitted children to school, but currently the scenario is changing. Currently, the adaptability of the children is more important than the content of the school, what they are teaching. So it's not the math and the languages that's going to really help them. What is really going to help them is how resilient they are, how adaptable they are, how can they problem solve, how can they handle situations, how can they handle themselves when they are in a given situation in a current scenario. So we are working at making children who are going to be more emotionally strong. So looking at a social emotional bonding. So yeah, any curriculum, any board, anything would do as long as the teacher connect is very strong with the child and he gives the entire base to the child to become socially and emotionally strong.
All right.
I hope I answered that.
I'd like to give a different opinion to that. I actually have an opposite opinion. I think that I have studied in different boards. I've been in ICSE, international boards, CBSE myself. I've studied in 12 different schools. So yeah, my parents were researchers, so I had to shift from country to country. My shortcut answer is if you plan to send your children to IIT medical, that is one of your aims, or Delhi University, one of the universities in India, stick to CBSE. It's a much better board. Till class 8, you have a lot of flexibility in what you do. If you are 101% sure you're going to be going abroad, after the child is going to be going abroad for undergrad studies, or you are likely to be transferred outside India, IB is a great board. If you want international education, but budget is a concern, IGCSE may be an option. And if you especially if you want to go to UK for higher studies, I'll not get in because explaining the different boards, I think Vivek has a separate session on this. I'll not start that session now, but attend that in the afternoon today. But that's the thumb rule. India mein padhana hai, go for CBSE. It's a much better board than ICSE. I would still say ICSE is focused on rote learning, and as Anita said, is very language oriented. With the flexibility in CBSE, you can include languages, and we've done that. So spoken English is one of our programs in Shamford as well. So I think that's the thumb rule that you should go to. And Pooja, you had mentioned one thing. Well, I'd like to mention this to parents. Last year you spoke that there are things which are negotiable and non-negotiable, right? I love that point. So whatever factors parents consider, you have to make that list as a family. What are you willing to negotiate on? Could be distance, it could be the school board, it could be the fees also. And then other negotiables, put your own weightage. Some family will have different weightages, and that's what we're talking about. So I think at first level, use the non-negotiable things to eliminate schools. Otherwise, it will get confusing. Today, we have what 16 schools in the expo today. It will get confusing. On one hand, I'm telling you to visit the schools, but don't visit 16. You'll get confused. So shortlist on these factors and then start moving. And then the board should be an important decision. That's my opinion. I disagree with that. I think board should be an elimination option. I would not, for example, send my child to an ICC school ever. I have studied there. I know what happens there. So that's my personal opinion, but every parent may have their own choice.
Great. I love these conversations where we have two absolutely poles apart discussions, because while that confuses the parents, but that also gives you food for thought. So as a parent, I think what Amolji said was very, very true, that look at your negotiables and look at your non-negotiables. Maybe curriculum is a negotiable for you. Maybe you say, well, I have the money and I can afford an international curriculum. It's just a matter of finding out whether international actually makes sense for my child. And now with the new education policy coming in, with the changes in CBSE, does that line kind of fade away in terms of the differentiator between the two curriculums? And that is something that you need to find out. I, as a parent,
exactly, Pooja, why I asked the age of the child, because the requirements keep changing. At the age of 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, we wouldn't know whether he's actually inclined to be an IIT or go abroad or anything.
Right.
The decision of a parent changes according to what the child requires when he grows up.
Absolutely. But having said that, you also need some factors. So curriculum is a very strong factor that you should look at while you're cleaning out and ironing out and saying what are your schools that are okay with you. But I also love what you said. It doesn't matter if it's an IB or an IGCSE or a CBSE, as long as life skills are inherently inbuilt in that curriculum, because that is something that is likely to stay constant for a longer duration in the child's life cycle. So thank you so much, everyone, for your inputs. I'll move on, Amolji, and my next question is for you. And it's a tricky one, because we see a lot of parents every year who come with a mindset that they want a set of schools. Now, this could be XYZ because of rankings or ratings, or because of that's where the peers' children go. And then they realize that their annual income or their monthly income doesn't seem appropriate for the schools that they aspire their children to go to. It is a little bit of a stretch. What is your advice to these parents? Would your advice be absolutely every penny is worth spent, it's your child's education, and make that stretch? Or would your advice be, no, it doesn't make sense at this point, hold off, use that money wisely, wait and watch, and put your child in a school that you can afford for the next 5 years and not what you can afford today?
Okay, so I'll answer this as putting myself in the parents' shoes, what I would do, right? So suppose I have my own salary in mind and I know this is a range that I'm comfortable with. So maybe there might be a school I really, really like, but I may have to stretch a little bit. Then it's worth it. Of course, certain schools, it's not as if the school that is charging 50,000 rupees is going to means a 5 times better career for my child than somebody who's charging 5 or 10,000 rupees per month. So one is that. So first of all, before judging which fees, one should look at the total cost of education. That's the whole thing. It's not just your school fees. Because whatever budget as a parent I am going to be putting for education is going to be the after school classes, for tuitions, for homework, for daycares. So add that all up and then come at that budget. This is a budget that I'm comfortable with, and maybe put a 20% slab. Okay, we'll maximum go to as a family 20% extra beyond this, and rest doesn't make sense. I mean, because in a lot of schools, what you end up paying for is fancy infrastructure which has nothing to do with the child's learning. So maybe it may not make sense. So one is that to keep your budgets in mind also, that this is the budget that I want to stick with, and this is my comfort range. And of course, some people, you might find a cheaper school, but some people have that an image problem with those schools as well. That I don't want my child to go to so and so school because वहाँ का तो fees बहुत कम है. I don't want. So there's an image issue with North Indians as well. So we always, so that's why everyone would want to prefer to be in that comfort zone, and then look at the total cost of education. Is this something that I can afford? And then look at the value for money that every school is offering, and where do I see value for money. Also, should also look at the track record. Why the track record is important is I have seen schools increase the fee by 15-20% per annum once the school starts picking up. Now that's nasty. I mean, that's taking advantage of the parent. Now, where do you go now? Do you spend admission fee in another school and move to another school? So I think the previous track, that's why I was talking about the people behind the show. Is it somebody whose just aim is to ek baar school bharne do, then I'll start increasing the fee more than the inflation rate? Because more than inflation rate should be a strict no.
Right.
Schools do that. So that's why I was saying that, and the people at the top will determine the quality of the principals and the teachers. Even if you interview today's teacher who's going to take your child's class today, I mean, what about next year? What about next? Are you going to interview all the teachers of the school? Nobody's going to allow you to do that. So that's why infrastructure is an indicator for. It's like going to a new restaurant. You look at the ambience and say, okay, this is nice, this is hygienic, this is clean. So that means you are judging that somebody has this vision for this restaurant. So the quality of food will also be expectedly good. If you see unhygienic infrastructure, that's why infrastructure is important. It gives you a sense of the vision behind the show as well. So that's why I think it's important to keep all these factors in mind and put different weightages according to your own family. I mean, distance could be one, health, safety, the curriculum. But these are, again, curriculum is vague. So how do you understand curriculum? So sometimes these indicators of infrastructure give you an idea of the curriculum, but ultimately what matters for your child's life is what happens in the classroom, what happens with the teacher, and what curriculum it be following. Everything else, the walls and all, don't make sense afterwards. But as an outsider, how do you judge that? So that's why these parameters are important. And when you go to see the school, as I said, just dig a little deeper. Notice the small things, which sometimes schools don't. One of the tips I can give all parents is ask to go to the washroom. Sometimes you'll see some surprises there, because these are areas which do what is not expected by the admission team. You'll find some surprises there.
Great, thank you so much. I think that was very valid. Yeah, please. I'll start with you, Mrs. Khanna.
Yeah, I think parents should understand that education should not be a burden on the parent. Parent should also see that they are not making comparisons as a branded school, or comparing the children also, that my child knows XYZ or the other child knows lesser than my child. There should be no comparisons made. Each child has his own capability. Each child is intelligent, and a good school will always create opportunities. A good school will always have a platform for a child to grow, to shine, and to perform. So instead of, I think quality education can be achieved with a reasonable fee structure. So parents would never feel that they should go beyond their pocket to invest in a school.
Great. Geeta, I'll also take. Yes, please.
Yeah, just further to what Amol was saying, my take for Gurgaon schools is that the infrastructure mostly is good. Nobody will, compromise on that. So what you said, yes, go see the washroom and, go try and eat in the cafeteria. But most schools, so the confusion for parents would be that this base level is non-negotiable. Every school has, CCTV. Every school has clean bathrooms, especially in the wake of all that has happened. So, yes, infrastructure is the first step. But then, just to add to what Amol said, it's about the curriculum, the teacher, which is, I think, the heart and soul of the school.
I totally agree with you, Geeta, on this. The curriculum and the teachers are the heart and the soul of the school.
Great, thank you so much. And I think yes, Vandana, please.
I think if we were to look at I'm not in favor of people going abroad and studying abroad. I'm not saying that, I'm not touching that point. But if you were to look at those people who have done exceptionally well outside India and have achieved great heights, are on great high posts and positions, they were also from CBSE schools. They never went, there were never such a focus on infrastructure or amenities, and they have done exceptionally well outside India. So I don't think these kind of things are a benchmark for any education.
I think that's been very, very valid points brought out by everyone. I love what Amolji, what you said about the total cost of education. I think a lot of time parents fail to see that. They're very short-sighted and kind of look at the spend this year and then forget about everything else. One of the things that we usually tell our parents is that, is this your first child or your second child? If it's your first child, don't just plan for this child now, plan for the second child as well. Because as soon as the second baby comes into the picture, the entire spend on education as a household will look very, very different. And that's when you're going to start fretting and fuming and saying, we didn't plan for this. Also, I love what you said to give surprises to the admissions team. Give them, ask them questions which are out of the box, ask them hard questions, and hopefully, if they're able to hold their ground, that it is a school that really means business. I also love what Vandanaji you said about no compromise. So make sure you don't do a compromise, and a school that creates opportunity for their children is a school that should be the right school for your child. Having said all of this, I think a lot depends on what you as a parent want. So going back to what Amolji had mentioned earlier, start penning down your negotiables and non-negotiables. That should be your first thing. And then start saying, of the list that I have, these are my non-negotiables and I will not compromise on these, and which are the schools that will fit into this. We've got the last 3-4 minutes left. I'm just going to quickly scroll.
Pooja, can I address one question which is coming again and again about the safety issue right now and online versus quickly? I'll try and say that. I think for this session, I don't think early children, most parents have young children. We're not going to have classes this year. We're going to have classes from April. We know vaccinations will start coming, but plan for next April. But the problem is, from what do you do from now to April as a parent? And the question is coming in the chat about younger children. Will they settle and down in front of online classes? Are they good for them? That's the kind of questions I'm seeing in the chat box. I think a lot of schools, Shemford is giving trial classes. I think Geeta also mentioned in the chat that they're giving trial classes. So is ask for trial classes. And online education as a phrase is too broad right now. There's everything happening in the name of online classes. What experience you may have with one set of philosophy of online education may vary with another one. So get this free trial, contact us, contact all the panelists here. I'm sure they all are offering free trial. That's a good thing about online education. You can give a free trial. In a real school, it's not possible. You need to buy the books, uniform, admission fee. It's not possible. But take the online classes, and because next 6 months, if your child does not attend any learning program, imagine where the state of the child will be after 6 months. It's not just the ABC and content. It's much more than to be engaged as a learner. I think that's more important. So I think that's one my takeaway for all parents, that check out all programs. I mean, Shemford has them. I mean, for that matter, everybody's having them. Do check them out and find the one that makes sense for you. And again, the value for money should also be an important consideration. I think that's my take for.
I'll just add to what Amol said is, don't let these 6 months go, because these are the foundation years, learning years, brain development, which is happening maximum right now. So whether you want to take up an online class or an offline class or a homeschooling kit, do something, but engage your child in a structured routine. So it's not that we're promoting any one of these, but whatever you feel you are comfortable with, whether it's offline, online, homeschooling, but engage your child.
I think that's a very, very valid point brought forward. We're actually one of the lots that are lucky to have an opportunity